Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into one of the most exciting topics for coin collectors and treasure hunters. We'll break down what makes these coins so special, how much they're worth in today's market, and what you need to know to sell them successfully at auction. So let's get started. First up, the 1995 USA Washington $quarter coin with D-mint mark is a modern yet collectible piece of American coinage that reflects the enduring legacy of the Washington design, which has been a part of U.S. history since 1932, although many people refer to it as a silver quarter. It's important to note that regular, circulation quarters minted after 1964 are not made of silver. The 1995 D Washington quarter is composed of a copper nickel-clad 91.67% copper and 8.33% nickel with a pure copper core. However, its bright metallic appearance and the natural color tone that can develop over time often lead collectors to describe it as silver. This particular coin, struck at the Denver Mint, can be identified by the D Mint mark located on the obverse, just to the right of George Washington's ponytail ribbon. The Denver Mint is one of the main U.S. mints responsible for producing coins for everyday use, and in 1995, it struck over 1.13 billion Washington quarters, meaning this issue is quite common in circulation. The obverse, front of the coin, features the classic portrait of George Washington, designed by John Flanagan. His left-facing profile is bold and dignified, symbolizing strength and leadership. Above his head is the word liberty, while the motto, "In God We Trust," appears to the left of the bust, and the date 1995 is shown below. Over the years, this portrait has been slightly modified to adapt to modern minting techniques, but the essence of Flanagan's design remains the same. The reverse, back of the coin features the well-known eagle design, also by John Flanagan. The eagle is perched proudly on a bundle of arrows, symbolizing readiness and defense, with an olive branch below representing peace. The inscriptions, United States of America, E Pluribus Unum, and $quarter encircle the image. This design was used continuously from 1932 until 1998, before being replaced by the State Quarters program in 1999. The 1995 issue thus represents one of the final years of the original Washington Eagle reverse design, which adds nostalgic value to modern collectors. Your coin is described as having a red color shade, being in good condition and showing some scratches. The reddish tone is likely the result of natural oxidation or environmental exposure that has caused the copper core beneath the nickel layer to show through slightly. Over time, exposure to air, moisture, and temperature changes can lead to light surface discoloration, including red, brown, or even purple hues. In some cases, collectors refer to this as toning. Mild red toning can make a coin look unique and interesting, though it typically doesn't increase its value unless it's evenly distributed and visually appealing. In good condition, a coin shows significant circulation wear. The main design elements, Washington's face, hair, and the eagle's feathers, are visible but flattened, with few fine details left. The inscriptions remain legible, though the surfaces often appear dull or scratched from years of handling. Since your coin has some scratches, it indicates additional wear from circulation and contact with other coins, which is common for a coin nearly 30 years old. In terms of metal content, the 1995 D Washington quarter contains no silver, so its intrinsic melt value is simply its base metal content, only a few cents. Its collector value, therefore, depends entirely on its condition, mint mark, and any special attributes such as toning or errors. For the 1995 D Washington quarter, the current market value in good condition with scratches typically remains at face value, 0.25. However, some collectors may pay slightly more, around 0.30 to $0.50 for coins with attractive natural toning or clean overall surfaces. Coins in uncirculated mint state condition, free of wear and retaining their original luster, can be worth $1 to $5, while certified high-grade examples, MS-66 and above, can sometimes reach $15 to $25 at auctions. It's also worth noting that proof coins of this year, struck at the San Francisco Mint and bearing an S Mint mark, were made of 90% silver and sold in collector sets. Those silver proofs have a bright, mirror-like finish and contain real silver value. However, your 1995 D coin from the Denver Mint is a circulation strike, not silver, so its worth comes mainly from its collectible appeal rather than precious metal content. First up, the 1940 Abraham Lincoln wheat penny without mint mark is a classic piece of American coinage history, and even in very fine condition with a few scratches. It holds a charm that collectors appreciate. This coin was minted at the Philadelphia Mint, which did not use a mint mark, and it remains one of the more common issues from that era. The Lincoln wheat penny series ran from 1909 until 1958 and was designed by Victor David Brenner to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. The obverse of the coin features the familiar portrait of Lincoln facing right with the inscriptions, "In God We Trust" above his head, "Liberty" to the left, and the date 1940 to the right. The reverse side shows two stalks of wheat on either side of the words 1 cent and United States of America, with E pluribus unum at the top. The composition of this coin is 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, giving it a warm brown tone that can change over time depending on storage and exposure. A coin in very fine condition will still display most of the detail on Lincoln's hair, face, and jawline, though there will be moderate wear visible on the high points. On the reverse, the wheat stalks will show some flattening, but most of the lines will remain visible. The edges of the coin should still be strong and the lettering clear. A coin graded as very fine typically shows honest wear from circulation, but has not been heavily damaged or corroded. However, in this particular case, since the coin has some scratches, those imperfections slightly affect its overall grade and market appeal. Scratches on the surface of a coin can come from handling, storage, or contact with other coins over time. Even small marks can change the way collectors view its condition, because the smooth surfaces of a coin, especially on Lincoln's face or the background fields, are important in determining grade and value. Light hairline scratches might not be too serious, but deeper or more visible ones can reduce the price. When a coin has scratches but still retains good detail and natural color, many buyers will consider it a lower end of the very fine grade or a VF with impairments. For collectors who want an attractive coin for a typeset rather than a perfect specimen, it can still be a desirable piece. In today's market, the 1940 Lincoln penny without mint mark is considered common, but its value depends on its condition, tone, and eye appeal. Most circulated coins from this year sell for just a few cents each when heavily worn. A very fine example that has been well cared for, with nice detail and even color, might sell for around 75 cents to $1.50 in the United States. However, once scratches or other surface problems are visible, the price generally drops, and such a coin might realistically sell for about 30 cents to $1. The difference might seem small, but in coin collecting, surface quality often matters as much as the level of wear. Coins with original surfaces, even if not perfect, always bring better prices than those that have been cleaned or scratched. Collectors often seek 1940 wheat pennies in higher uncirculated grades or those showing red or red-brown color, which can fetch several dollars or more depending on brightness and preservation. But for most everyday finds, such as this one, the sentimental and historical value often outweighs the small monetary worth. The fact that this coin has survived over 80 years since it was struck adds to its character. Many collectors appreciate such pieces for their story. Coins that circulated during World War II-era America, carrying the image of Lincoln and the wheat reverse that symbolized prosperity and hard work. When valuing this coin, other factors besides grade also come into play. Market demand fluctuates based on collector interest, copper prices, and the general popularity of Lincoln wheat cents. Online auctions, coin shops, and flea markets can all show slightly different prices. A coin with appealing natural patina, even with light scratches, might still sell faster than a cleaned coin with unnatural brightness. Buyers today often prefer originality, so it is important never to attempt to polish or clean old pennies. Cleaning can leave fine lines or remove the original surface layer, further decreasing its value. Next up, the 1968 USA Washington Quarter. Dollar coin without a mint mark is a fascinating piece of American coinage from the late 1960s, a time when the U.S. Mint had recently transitioned from silver to base metal coinage. Although you've described it as a silver quarter, the 1968 Washington Quarter is actually not made of silver if it was intended for circulation. Regular 1968 quarters were struck with a copper-nickel-clad composition, 91.67% copper and 8.33% nickel, bonded to a pure copper core. However, there were special proof versions made that year in 90% silver, but those were struck only at the San Francisco Mint with an S mint mark and sold in proof sets to collectors. Since your coin has no mint mark, it was struck at the Philadelphia Mint and is a regular circulation issue, not silver. Your coin is described as being in very fine condition with some scratches. In numismatic grading terms, very fine VF means the coin shows moderate wear on the higher points of the design, but retains strong overall detail. On the obverse, Washington's hair still shows visible strands and waves, though the highest points are smoothed. The facial features, lettering, and date remain sharp. On the reverse, the eagle's wings and tail feathers show wear, but are still clearly outlined. The scratches you mention are typical for a coin that has circulated for decades and do not drastically reduce the coin's overall value unless they are deep or distracting. Even though your 1968 quarter is not silver, it still carries historical interest. This was only the third year that Washington quarters were made entirely without silver for general circulation, following the Coinage Act of 1965. That law removed silver from dimes and quarters because of rising silver prices and coin shortages at the time. As a result, the 1968 issue represents part of America's shift to modern coinage materials. From a composition standpoint, your coin's total weight is 5.67 grams, with a reeded edge. The clad design features a silvery outer layer of nickel and copper over a reddish copper core, which can sometimes show faint reddish or brown tones along the edge or when the outer layer wears thin. This effect often gives the coin a silver look with slight color variation, something many collectors find visually appealing. In very fine condition, a 1968 quarter without a mint mark has primarily collector interest rather than melt value since there's no silver content. In today's market, circulated examples like yours typically have a value around $0.25 to $0.40. Some collectors may pay slightly more, around $0.50 if the coin has attractive toning, minimal marks, or particularly even wear. If your coin happened to be a proof strike from the San Francisco Mint, which would have a clear S mint mark and was made of 90% silver, its value would be much higher, typically $5 to $8 depending on condition, and even more for pristine examples. However, since your coin has no mint mark, it was minted in Philadelphia and is a standard circulation issue, not a silver proof. There are also certain error varieties from this era that can make a 1968 quarter more valuable. For instance, off-center strikes, clipped planchets, doubled dies, or coins with missing layers have been found among quarters from the late 1960s. These errors are uncommon, but can fetch anywhere from $20 to several $100s, depending on severity and visibility. If your coin shows any unusual doubling on the lettering or date, or an irregular shape or thickness, it might be worth having it checked by a coin expert or grading service. Historically, the 1968 Washington quarter marks a return of the mint marks after a brief pause. During 1965-1967, the U.S. Mint temporarily removed mint marks from all coins to discourage hoarding during the nationwide coin shortage. In 1968, the mint marks were restored and moved to the obverse front of the coin, just to the right of Washington's ponytail ribbon. Since your coin has no mint mark, it confirms that it was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, which didn't use a mint mark at that time. Next up, the 1956 D Abraham Lincoln wheat penny is one of the most familiar and widely collected coins from the mid-20th century, representing the final years of the wheat cent series before the reverse design changed to the Lincoln Memorial in 1959. Struck at the Denver Mint, this coin bears the small d mint mark just below the date on the obverse side. Designed by Victor David Brenner, the coin features the timeless profile of President Abraham Lincoln facing right, with the inscriptions, "In God We Trust" along the top edge, "Liberty" on the left side, and the date 1956, accompanied by the D mint mark to the right. The 1956 D wheat penny was struck in huge numbers. Over 1.09 billion pieces were minted, making it one of the most common Lincoln wheat cents ever produced. It was made of the standard bronze composition used for most pre-1982 pennies, 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, weighing about 3.11 grams with a diameter of 19 millimeters. Because of its copper content, the coin often develops a range of colors over time, from reddish-brown to dark chocolate tones, depending on storage and exposure to air. Even though billions were made, collectors still value these coins based on their condition, color, and overall eye appeal. An example of the 1956 D Lincoln penny in extra fine condition, XF or EF, shows light but even wear on the high points of the design, with most of the finer details still visible. In this grade, Lincoln's cheekbone, jawline, and hair show minor flattening from circulation, but the overall portrait remains strong and attractive. The lines in his coat and the lettering are crisp, and the fields, the flat areas of the coin, still have some natural luster. On the reverse, the wheat stalks retain most of their inner lines, and the inscriptions are sharp and legible. This is a coin that circulated only lightly before being set aside, retaining much of its original character. Since your 1956 D penny is in extra fine condition but has some scratches, its value is slightly affected. Scratches, even small ones, can reduce a coin's appeal to collectors because they interrupt the smooth appearance of the surface. Light hairline scratches from handling or rubbing against other coins are common and usually don't have a major impact on price. But deeper marks, especially across Lincoln's face or in the open fields, can lower the value. Coin dealers often classify such examples as extra fine details coins, meaning the grade is accurate, but there is minor surface damage that keeps it from being a premium example. In today's U.S. coin market, the 1956 D Lincoln wheat penny in extra fine condition generally has a value of around $0.10 to $0.25 USD, depending on eye appeal and surface quality. Because of the enormous mintage, circulated coins like this remain abundant. Even uncirculated examples are not rare, with bright red mint state coins selling for $1 to $3 each. Professionally graded coins by PCGS or NGC that display full red color and perfect surfaces can fetch higher prices, sometimes $500 to $1,000 or more for top-tier specimens. However, coins showing scratches typically remain closer to the lower end of the price range, around 10 to 15 cents for lightly marked examples. Despite its modest value, the 1956 D penny has historical significance as one of the last issues before the end of the wheat cent era. These coins circulated widely during the post-war economic boom, a time when the United States was experiencing rapid growth and modernization. Children often found them in pocket change, sparking interest in coin collecting for generations. Because they were produced in such large quantities, they serve as a nostalgic reminder of a period when the penny still had genuine purchasing power, enough to buy a piece of candy or a few sticks of gum. For collectors today, even a coin with scratches can hold sentimental and educational value. It provides a window into mid-century minting technology and everyday commerce. The Denver Mint's output in the 1950s was highly efficient, using improved presses that could produce billions of coins with precision. Yet, even with technological progress, each coin still carries small differences, and no two are exactly alike due to minor variations in die wear, planchet color, and striking pressure. When storing your 1956D penny, it's best to handle it carefully to prevent additional wear or marks. Hold it by the edges to avoid leaving fingerprints, and store it in a soft plastic holder, coin flip, or capsule to keep it safe from air and moisture. Avoid cleaning or polishing it, as doing so can create new scratches and strip away the original surface patina that collectors value. A naturally aged coin with even toning is far more desirable than one that has been artificially brightened. Next up, the 1978 USA Washington quarter dollar coin without a mint mark is a classic example of late 20th century American coinage, carrying the familiar portrait of George Washington that has appeared on the quarter since 1932. While it's often called a silver quarter, it's important to note that no regular 1978 quarters were struck in silver for circulation. The last regular silver quarters were made in 1964. From 1965 onward, all circulation quarters, including the 1978 issue, were made with a copper-nickel-clad composition, consisting of 91.67% copper and 8.33% nickel, bonded to a pure copper core. Your coin has no mint mark, which means it was produced at the Philadelphia Mint. This mint did not use a mint mark on quarters until 1980, so the absence of a mint mark is normal for your coin. The Philadelphia Mint produced a large number of these coins in 1978, more than 521 million pieces, making it a very common issue. Your coin is described as being in fine condition with some scratches. In numismatic grading, fine F condition indicates that the coin has moderate to heavy wear from circulation. The major design elements remain clear and visible, but much of the finer detail, such as the texture of Washington's hair or the feathers on the eagle, has worn smooth. The scratches you mention are typical of coins that have circulated for decades, caused by contact with other coins and surfaces. These do not severely diminish the value unless they are deep or disfiguring. The composition of this coin gives it a total weight of 5.67 grams and a reeded edge. The outer layers of copper and nickel give it a silver-like appearance, while the pure copper core gives a reddish tone along the edge or where the outer layer has thinned. Because of this copper-nickel-clad construction, the coin has no intrinsic silver value. Its melt value is only a few cents, based on its base metal content. In terms of market value, the 1978 quarter without a mint mark is a common coin. In fine condition with some scratches, its value in today's market is generally around 0.25 to 0.35, essentially its face value with perhaps a small collector's premium. In very fine VF or extra fine XF condition, it might sell for $0.50. While uncirculated, mint state examples can fetch $2 to $5, depending on luster and strike quality. Exceptionally high-grade certified specimens, graded MS66 or higher by professional grading services like PCGS or NGC, can sell for $15 to $30, though such coins are rare since most 1978 quarters saw heavy circulation. There were no major errors or varieties associated with the 1978 Philadelphia quarters, but occasionally, collectors encounter off-center strikes, double strikes, or coins struck on defective planchets. These mint errors can be quite valuable, sometimes selling for $50 to several $100s, depending on the rarity and visibility of the error. If your coin has unusual features, such as partial designs, extra thickness, or doubling on the letters or numbers, it might be worth a closer look by a numismatic expert. From a historical perspective, the 1978 Washington quarter represents the last years before a major design change. In the late 1970s, the U.S. Mint was preparing for modernization. New designs, updated presses, and more efficient minting technology. The Washington quarter design had already been in use for over 45 years, making it one of the longest-running designs in U.S. coinage history at that point. Coins from this period bridge the gap between the post-silver era and the modern numismatic era, when collectors began paying closer attention to mint marks, condition, and varieties. The fine condition of your coin tells the story of its journey through everyday use. For nearly half a century, it may have changed hands thousands of times, in shops, gas stations, and vending machines, making it not only a collectible, but also a piece of American life and history. Even though it has scratches and wear, these signs of age give it character, showing its long service in circulation. Next up, the 1942 Abraham Lincoln wheat penny, without mint mark, is a classic example of early 1940s U.S. coinage, representing both history and tradition in American currency. This coin was minted at the Philadelphia Mint, which did not use a mint mark and forms part of the long-running Lincoln wheat penny series designed by Victor David Brenner. The coin's obverse features the well-known portrait of Abraham Lincoln facing right, with the inscriptions "In God We Trust Above Liberty" to the left, and the date 1942 to the right. The 1942 Lincoln wheat penny is made of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, weighing approximately 3.11 grams, with a diameter of 19 millimeters. Its warm reddish-brown hue is the result of the copper alloy used, and over time, the metal tends to darken or develop spots due to oxidation. The Philadelphia Mint struck an enormous number of these coins, more than 657 million pieces, making it a relatively common date among wheat cents. Because of this large mintage, the coin's value depends almost entirely on its condition, color, and surface preservation. A 1942 Lincoln penny in fine condition means that the coin has seen noticeable wear from circulation, but still retains all its major details. In this grade, Lincoln's portrait remains well-defined, though there is moderate flattening on his cheek, jawline, and hair. The hair above the ear and along the top of the head will show smoothing, but the main outline of the design is still clear. On the reverse, the two wheat stalks are visible but with many of the inner lines worn away. The lettering on both sides should still be sharp and easy to read, though the coin's overall surface will have a more even, aged appearance. Fine condition coins typically show honest circulation wear but no major dents, corrosion, or gouges that would severely detract from their appeal. In this specific case, since the coin has some scratches, its value is affected slightly. Scratches on a coin can occur from handling, contact with other coins, or rough storage conditions over decades. Light surface scratches or hairlines are common on older copper cents, but deep or noticeable scratches, especially across Lincoln's face or in the fields, the flat areas, will reduce the coin's eye appeal and market value. A coin in fine condition with scratches is often treated by collectors as fine details or damaged, meaning it may sell for less than a problem-free example. However, since the 1942 penny is a common issue, the price difference is not dramatic. The scratches simply move it toward the lower end of the price range for its grade. In today's U.S. coin market, the 1942 Lincoln wheat penny, without mint mark in fine condition, generally sells for around 10 to 25 cents, 0.10 to 0.25 USD. For a coin with scratches or small blemishes, the value may fall closer to the lower end of that range, perhaps around 10 to 15 cents, depending on how visible the marks are. Clean, problem-free fine examples are often preferred by collectors filling album slots or building sets by date and mint mark. In comparison, coins in very fine or extremely fine grades can reach 50 cents or more, while uncirculated or mint-state examples, especially those with full red color, can sell for several dollars or even higher if professionally graded and certified by companies such as PCGS or NGC. The 1942 penny holds a special place in history because it was struck just before the U.S. Mint switched to steel cents in 1943 due to wartime copper shortages. Millions of these copper pennies circulated through the war years, and they became part of everyday life for Americans on the home front. Holding one today connects you directly to that era, making even a modestly valued coin like this one meaningful. Many collectors appreciate its historic context more than its small monetary value, as it represents a tangible piece of the World War II period. Next up, the 1990 USA Washington $quarter coin with a P mint mark is a modern American coin that continues the long-running design tradition of the Washington Quarter series. Although often called a silver quarter, it's important to note that the 1990 P Washington Quarter is not made of silver. Like all regular circulation quarters minted after 1964, it was struck in copper-nickel-clad composition, consisting of an outer layer of 75% copper and 25% nickel, bonded to a pure copper core. Only certain proof quarters made in San Francisco were produced in silver that year, and those carry an S mint mark, not a PUR. Coin's P mint mark indicates it was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. This was during a period when the mint was producing very high numbers of coins to meet national circulation needs, and in 1990, the Philadelphia Mint struck over 613 million quarters, making it a common issue overall. Your coin is described as being in extra fine XF condition, with some scratches. In numismatic grading, extra fine means the coin shows light, but even wear across the high points of the design. The major details, such as Washington's hair curls, the eagle's feathers, and the lettering, remain sharp and well-defined. The coin has lost some of its original mint luster, but retains a pleasant overall appearance. The light scratches you mention are normal for a circulated coin and don't significantly affect its value unless they are deep or concentrated. Because your coin is composed of copper-nickel clad, its metal melt value is only a few cents, depending on current base metal prices. Its true worth comes from its collectible and historical interest rather than its intrinsic metal content. In terms of market value, a 1990 P Washington quarter in extra fine condition typically sells for around 0.25 to 0.50, just slightly above face value. This small premium reflects its collectible interest rather than rarity, as hundreds of millions were struck and most remain in circulation today. In uncirculated, mint state condition with full luster and minimal marks, the coin can be worth $1 to $5. Certified high-grade examples, such as those graded MS66 or MS67 by PCGS or NGC, can reach $15 to $30 or more, depending on strike quality and eye appeal. While the standard 1990p issue is common, collectors occasionally seek out error varieties that can significantly increase the value. Notable errors might include off-center strikes, broad strikes, double strikes, or coins struck on the wrong metal plancher, such as a nickel or cent blank. These minting mistakes can range in value from $25 to several $100s, depending on the rarity and visibility of the error. If your coin shows any unusual doubling, thickness, or misalignment, it might be worth having it examined by a professional grader or coin expert. The 1990p Washington quarter holds historical significance as part of the final decade of the original eagle reverse design. At this time, the U.S. Mint was preparing for major innovations in coinage, including the creation of the 50 state quarters program. As such, the 1990 issue represents one of the last years before this major transformation in U.S. numismatics. Your coin's extra fine condition means it was well cared for or lightly circulated, compared to the heavily worn examples still commonly found in change. Even with some scratches, it remains an attractive collectible for those who appreciate modern-era U.S. coins. Many collectors build complete runs of Washington quarters by date and mint mark, and your 1990p fits neatly into that sequence as part of the transition period leading up to the statehood series. Next up, the 1941 Abraham Lincoln wheat penny without mint mark is one of the popular coins. From the early 1940s and part of the long-running Lincoln wheat cent series that began in 1909, this particular coin was minted at the Philadelphia Mint, which did not use a mint mark, and it was produced in very large quantities. Over 887 million pieces were struck that year, making it one of the most common wheat pennies from that period. This coin is composed of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, with a diameter of 19 millimeters and a weight of about 3.11 grams. It was struck using the same metallic composition that had been used since the first Lincoln cent in 1909, prior to the temporary switch to steel cents during the World War II years. The design and materials give it that classic reddish-brown appearance, which can darken over time due to oxidation. A coin from 1941 found today in circulation often shows moderate to heavy wear, but even with visible signs of age and scratches, it can still be identified clearly because of its durable copper composition. 1941 wheat penny in good condition means that the coin has seen extensive circulation and most of its fine details have worn away. The portrait of Lincoln will appear smooth, with minimal facial detail remaining. The hair above his forehead and ear will be flat, and some of the lettering, particularly on the reverse, might be faint. The wheat stalks will have lost much of their inner line detail, appearing as flat outlines rather than textured ears of grain. The edges will be soft from wear, and the surfaces might have spots, discoloration, or scratches from handling. Even though the coin is well worn, its date and major design elements remain visible, which is what qualifies it as good in numismatic terms. Scratches on the surface of a coin, especially one in good condition, are not unusual. Over time, copper coins rub against other coins, rough surfaces, and dirt, leaving visible marks. These scratches do not typically add any value. In fact, they slightly reduce collector interest. However, for a coin that is already well circulated, such marks do not drastically change its worth. Most collectors expect coins in this grade to show signs of life and use, and the main focus becomes authenticity and overall eye appeal rather than perfection. When evaluating the 1941 penny's value in today's market, its condition plays the biggest role. Because so many of these coins were minted and survived, common circulated examples are not rare and are easily found in coin shops and online marketplaces. In good condition, a 1941 penny without mint mark is typically valued between 5 cents and 15 cents, 0.05 to 0.15 USD. If the coin has very heavy scratches or corrosion, the value might drop closer to face value, while a clean, naturally aged example might bring the higher end of that range. Coins that have been improperly cleaned, polished, or artificially brightened usually sell for less because such treatments damage the original surface. Higher-grade examples such as very fine, extremely fine, or uncirculated coins naturally command more money. A 1941 Lincoln penny in extremely fine condition might bring around 50 cents to $1, while a mint-state red example certified by PCGS or NGC could sell for several dollars or more, depending on color and eye appeal. But for a circulated coin in good condition with scratches, the realistic market price remains modest. Even though the monetary value is small, coins like the 1941 wheat penny hold significant historical and sentimental worth. They were struck in the early years of World War II during a time when the United States was on the verge of major change. Millions of Americans handled these same copper cents in their daily lives, buying newspapers, paying streetcar fares, and saving them in jars. Each surviving piece today connects us to that era and tells a story of everyday history. Collectors often enjoy finding such coins in rolls of pennies or inherited collections. The 1941 wheat penny is also a good learning coin for beginners because it allows new hobbyists to practice grading. Examine different color tones such as red, red-brown, and brown, and understand how condition affects price. When compared to rarer dates in the wheat penny series, such as the 1909 SVDB or the 1914D, the 1941 is much more accessible and affordable, making it a perfect starter piece. Next up, the 1984 USA Washington $quarter coin with D mint mark is an interesting collectible that represents one of the later issues of the pre-state quarter era. While it is often described as a silver quarter, it's important to clarify that the 1984 D Washington quarter was not struck in silver for general circulation. Instead, it was minted in a copper-nickel-clad composition, which consists of an outer layer of 75% copper and 25% nickel, bonded to a pure copper core. The coin's silvery appearance can make it look like silver, especially when slightly worn or oxidized, but its actual metal content does not contain any silver. This coin carries the D Mint mark, meaning it was minted at the Denver Mint in Colorado. The 1980s were a period of high production for U.S. quarters, and in 1984, the Denver Mint produced an impressive 546,483,064 coins, making it a very common issue. Although large mintages generally mean lower collectible value, coins from this era can still attract interest for their historical design, condition, or mint errors. Your coin is described as being in dirty condition with some scratches, which means it has circulated for many years and likely accumulated dust, surface grime, or light discoloration. Such conditions are common for coins that have been in use for decades. The scratches indicate wear from handling, contact with other coins, or long-term storage in less than ideal environments. Despite these imperfections, the coin's design and lettering remain identifiable, which is important for both collectors and appraisers. From a grading perspective, your coin likely falls within the fine F to very fine VF range. This means there's visible wear across Washington's hair and face, and the eagle's feathers may be smooth in some areas, but all major design elements and inscriptions are still clearly readable. In terms of composition and melt value, since the 1984 D quarter is made of copper-nickel, its metal value is only worth a few cents based on the copper and nickel market. Its true worth lies in its collectible and historical interest. In the current coin market, a circulated 1984 D Washington quarter in average condition typically trades for $0.25 to $0.50, which is close to its face value. In better preserved examples, such as extra fine, XF, or about uncirculated AU condition, the coin might fetch around $1 to $2 from collectors who seek to complete their quarter date and mint sets. Uncirculated, mint state coins with full luster and minimal marks can range from $5 to $10, depending on their sharpness and eye appeal. However, like many modern U.S. coins, the real excitement for collectors often comes from error coins or varieties. Certain 1984 D quarters have been found with minting errors such as off-center strikes, broad strikes, die cracks, or clipped planchets. These minting mistakes can make the coin far more valuable, ranging anywhere from $25 to over $200, depending on the type and severity of the error. Therefore, if your coin shows any unusual doubling, shape irregularity, or thickness differences, it could be worth examining more closely by a coin expert or certified grading service. Historically, the 1984 D Washington quarter also marks an important era in U.S. coinage. The early to mid-1980s saw the U.S. Mint refining its production technology, which led to higher mintages and improved strike quality. These coins represent a bridge between the traditional eagle reverse design and the upcoming transition to the commemorative State Quarter series that began in 1999. Although your coin is in dirty condition with some scratches, it still carries historical and collectible appeal. Many collectors enjoy cleaning and preserving such coins, though professional numismatists typically advise against aggressive cleaning, as it can damage the surface and reduce value. Instead, gentle handling and proper storage in a coin flip or holder can help prevent further deterioration. Visually, the 1984 D Washington quarter retains the timeless appearance of American coinage. Even with some tarnish or dirt, the contrast between its nickel surface and copper core, visible on the coin's edge, offers a glimpse into its layered construction, a small but fascinating detail in modern minting. In summary, your 1984 USA Washington $quarter coin with a D mint mark was minted at the Denver Mint using copper-nickel-clad composition. It features the iconic designs of George Washington on the obverse and the American eagle on the reverse. In dirty condition with some scratches, its current market value in today's collector and auction market is around $0.25 to $0.50, while higher grade or error examples can be worth $5 to $50 or more, depending on rarity and preservation. Though not rare or silver, it remains a classic piece of U.S. coinage, a lasting symbol of American history, artistry, and the everyday commerce that has carried these coins through countless hands across decades. The 1957 Abraham Lincoln Wheat Penny is a classic and widely recognized coin from the final years of the beloved wheat cent series, which was produced from 1909 to 1958. Struck at the Denver Mint, this coin features the small D mint mark located just below the date on the obverse side. It was designed by Victor David Brenner, whose initials VDB can be found on the truncation of Lincoln's shoulder. The 1957 Lincoln penny was struck in enormous numbers, with more than 1 billion coins produced at the Denver Mint that year. Specifically, the mintage totaled around 1,005 to 1,342,000 pieces, making it one of the most common wheat cents in circulation. Like other Lincoln wheat pennies of the era, it was composed of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, weighed approximately 3.11 grams, and had a diameter of 19 millimeters. The coin's composition gives it a distinctive reddish-brown hue when freshly minted, though over time it can tone to darker shades of brown due to oxidation and exposure to the elements. 1957 Lincoln Wheat Penny in Very Fine, VF. Condition shows moderate wear on the highest points of the design, but still retains strong details. In this grade, Lincoln's hairlines and beard show some flattening, yet his features remain distinct. The cheekbone and jawline display light smoothing, but the overall portrait remains sharp and easily recognizable. On the reverse, the wheat stalks are visibly worn but retain most of their major lines, and the lettering across the coin is still bold and legible. A coin in very fine condition indicates that it circulated for a number of years but was never heavily damaged or excessively worn down. In this case, since the coin has some scratches, its value may be slightly reduced. Scratches can come from years of circulation, contact with other coins, or rough handling. Light surface scratches, sometimes called hairlines, are common on older copper coins and typically only have a small effect on value. However, deeper scratches that cut across Lincoln's face, the fields, or the reverse lettering can detract from the coin's appearance and collector appeal. When grading coins, such marks often lead to the coin being labeled as details, e.g., very fine details, scratched meaning it still holds numismatic value but is not considered problem-free. In today's coin market, the 1957 Lincoln Wheat Penny in very fine condition generally has a value of around 0.10 to 0.25 USD. Because the 1957 penny was produced in such high numbers, circulated examples remain very common. Even in grades above very fine, such as extremely fine or about uncirculated, the value rarely exceeds $0.50 unless the coin has exceptional color or luster. Uncirculated, mint-state examples can be worth around $1 to $3, and brilliant red coins, certified by professional grading services like PCGS or NGC, can sell for $5 to $10 or more, depending on their color and grade. Coins with noticeable scratches tend to stay on the lower end of the value scale, often between 0.10 and 0.15 for average examples. The 1957 wheat penny holds historical charm as one of the final 2 years of the wheat reverse design before it was replaced by the Lincoln Memorial Reverse in 1959. During the late 1950s, these coins circulated widely in an era of prosperity and post-war growth across America. They served as everyday currency for millions, carrying small but meaningful purchasing power, enough to buy a piece of candy, a stamp, or a few items from a vending machine. For many collectors, the 1957 penny evokes nostalgia, recalling childhood experiences of finding shiny new wheat cents in change, or saving them in blue coin albums. Even though the 1957 penny is not rare, its enduring appeal comes from its connection to history and its representation of classic American coin design. Each coin tells a story of where it has traveled and how it was used. A piece like yours, with some scratches but still retaining its design and date clearly, stands as a symbol of honest circulation and the passage of time. It's a small artifact that links us directly to mid-20th century America, a time of optimism, industry, and innovation.